sooner, that's the bonus, okay? On behalf of the DC chaperone, parent, committee, everything like that, we thank you for coming on a crazy night. We understand there's a million things going on, but thank you for coming, opening up your busy schedule, okay? We really appreciate it. We're gonna let Mike and Linda get going right away. These are gonna be our tour guides that we're traveling with. Okay, I know you've met Linda already, but I don't know if we've met Mike yet. We haven't, okay, perfect. So without further ado, they're gonna do their presentation, and then once they're done, we'll wrap it up with a few important things, okay? All right.
So we'll start off with the slide on the overhead. Make sure that you have all the items that are listed there. You'll have 2 luggage tags. Those are the food tags that you have. You'll have a packing list that says Legacy Tour and Travel, packing guidelines on it, and then you'll have an itinerary, a 1-page itinerary. Those are the 3 forms we want you to have. If you don't have those, raise your hand and we'll get those to you as soon as we can. Can you hear okay down there? More volume? Good. All right, good. So real briefly, we're going to go over the itinerary. The first day is probably the most important because there are some things that you have to pack that are a little unusual and different for that very first day. You guys are going to get up at, we call it oh so dark 30. I don't know why normally people would be up at this time of day. Just keep that in mind. It's very, very early. You'll come to school here at 4 a.m. The good news is for students, you'll be able to get on the motor coach, and the first job for you to do is to fall asleep. You will need your rest. Now, Linda and I need our beauty rest, so we're not going to be meeting you here. We will meet you at the first stop, which will be in Mauston, Wisconsin. So we need our rest. You guys will be up really early. Once we meet you, we'll stop someplace in Mauston. It's usually just a really quick stop to use the facilities. We get on the motor coach and we head into Chicago. Now, how many of you have been to Chicago? Lots of you. It's close. Here are the things that we do in Chicago and why we do them. We're going to stop at the Willis Tower. We want you to have a perspective of what the city is like. For all you old people, Willis Tower is the Sears Tower. So, you've been there. The next thing that we do is we'll go down to Millennium Park. We want you to have the feeling of what it's like to be in the heart of a really big city. Then we'll go out to the museum campus, take a photo with the skyline of Chicago behind us, and then we'll head out of town. As we head out of town, you will eat your lunch on the motor coach. So we will talk later. You'll need to bring a cooler with you, and in that cooler, you will have snacks and also lunch for that first day out. We will not be stopping for lunch. As you eat your lunch, then it's nap time. It's just back in kindergarten again, right? Nap time, you get to sleep for about an hour as we work our way towards South Bend, Indiana. In South Bend, we stop at the University of Notre Dame. How many Notre Dame fans here? Nobody. Seriously? So, we'll stop at Notre Dame. Why do we stop there? Very important reason. We want you to have the experience of standing on a highly selective university campus. Now, Notre Dame's not going to be on everyone's list, but you know what? Maybe a major university is going to be. We want you to have that experience. Plus, the football history and lore at Notre Dame is unparalleled at any other university in the country. Plus, their combination of athletics and academics, they graduate 97% of their football team. That's unheard of. There are more academic All-Americans from Notre Dame than any other school. So that's why we stop there too. Plus, the bathrooms are there and they're pretty convenient. So, then we get back on the motor coach and head towards Ohio. We will spend the first night in a place called Maumee, Ohio. It's outside of Toledo. You'll check in, you'll quickly change into your swimming suits, and you'll have about an hour, hour and a half to swim. Then after that, we will treat you to pizza. You have a pizza party that first evening out, so you don't have to worry about supper that night. That's paid for. All you need to do is bring your drink. We'll remind you about all of this stuff later. So that's your first day in a nutshell. The rest of the days, you have seen this already. Linda and I are just going to pick out our favorite thing from each of those days, and we'll go through it really quickly. However, if you have any questions about the itinerary, things that you see, or things that we'll do, please ask. The one thing I do want to point out to you is that at the end of each day, there will be a parenthesis. And inside that parenthesis is going to be an indication of which meals are provided for that particular day. So you will see B for breakfast, L for lunch, and D for dinner. Dinner being supper for all good farmers from the Midwest. So those will tell you the meals that are already paid for. If those meals are not listed, that means that meal will be on your own. You will be responsible for making your meal selection and paying for that meal as well. Any questions about that? Alrighty. So Linda, the second day, your favorite thing is?
All right, so second day, day 2. Wow, we're already tired because we've traveled through your state. Mike and I started out in Iowa and a little bit of Wisconsin to get to Illinois, and now you're in Ohio, but we're just like, because we live in the Midwest, we're not even there yet. So we have some driving to do in this morning to take you to the new state of Pennsylvania and to get you to one of the highlights, which is the Gettysburg Battlefield. And we'll be able to first go into the Visitors Center and get to look at some things in there, and then one of my favorite things is the cyclorama, where we get to see that painting come to life to tell the story. We'll do a walk out on the battlefield and then through the Soldiers National Cemetery. After that, we'll take you back to the hotel, get you all settled in, and let you get some supper. And then another highlight will be our nighttime walk in historic downtown Gettysburg with some fun stories to be able to tell you to put you to sleep. And that's probably one of the funnest parts about our trip. And then we're already into day 3.
So day 3, we'll start with one of the highlights will be a tour of the battlefield for 3 hours with the National Park Service tour guide. These guys know the battlefield inside and out. Many of them grew up in Gettysburg and they played out on the battlefield when they were kids. They know a lot about the battle, and it's a really cool experience to share their knowledge with you. Then we head into a place called Harper's Ferry. I won't spend a lot of time talking about that, but lots of fun there. And then into DC. Now that night, we'll do a monument walk at night. So it'll be all lit up and beautiful. We'll do 6 of them. People always say, what's your favorite monument or memorial? Those of you who have been to DC, what would you say? What is your favorite monument or memorial in DC? Holler them out. Lincoln. What else? Washington. Jefferson. Vietnam Wall. Korea. Roosevelt. We'll see all of those. That first night out, we'll go to every single one of those. Hands down, though, my favorite is the Korean War Memorial. Why? Because there are 19 statues. That's going to be symbolic. We'll talk about that on the tour. 19 statues that are 10-foot tall aluminum statues that represent men that were fighting in Korea. And at night, they eerily come alive. It is a very cool experience at night. Does not even compare during the day. So going there at night is amazing. You're nodding your head. It's moving. So that's my favorite. We'll be out till about 10:30. It's a lot of walking. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll be out till about 10:30 and then back to the hotel because we have a big day ahead of us the next day.
Yes, so the next 3 days we spend our time in the DC area. We are visiting the home of George Washington. We are visiting Arlington Cemetery. We have a chance to visit the Smithsonian's and take in some theater. One of my favorite things is visiting the Ford's Theater. This year's musical is Into the Woods, and so it is kind of a spin-off on if you were thinking of the stories of Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella, what's the other one?
Rapunzel.
Yes, Rapunzel, thank you. It's, I wish, so Cinderella says, well, I wish, and then we watch the wishes come to life. And that's the gist of the musical. And it's a musical at Ford's Theater. What's the best part about that? You're at Ford's Theater, and you get to see the actual presidential booth where Lincoln was assassinated. So that night, we have a nice meal out and take in the theater. The other night, we have a boat ride, a cruise down the Potomac, back up. You get to see the memorials lit up at night. and we get to kind of celebrate our long trip with a fun dance. And so you get to watch Mike boogie, and that's always pretty fun. And then the next morning,